I think hip-hop is a sport, so you're going to have these little spits and spats. And it's all good because personally I respect these dudes as, you know, as people. You know what I mean? So outside of that, it's really nothing.
Specifically, where are you at, like, with the J. Cole? Specifically, where are you at with a Drake or so on and so forth?
I respect their music.
Like that.
For sure. I respect them as individuals and creators. And I think what the media tried to do is insane, because they take these black, you know, young brothers and really try to clash it and make bump heads, and that's not right.
Kendrick Lamar had to deal with a lot of interviews and controversy after his verse on Big Sean's Control, where he allegedly took several jabs at J. Cole and Drake. But this was a track from 2013, back when Kenny and Drizzy were both very good friends and often collaborated on tracks together. So, what happened exactly? That led to where the state of the hip-hop industry is today. A whole stadium is singing along to a song dissing Drake and his entire career. Did K-Dot actually win and ruin the Canadian rapper's life? Let's look at everything that led to Kendrick ruining Drake's career, starting from the top. In November 2011, Drake was on his way to becoming one of the biggest superstars to ever step foot in the booth. Take Care was a cultural phenomenon and blew everyone's expectations away. Kendrick released Section 80 in the same year, and to many, he was the next West Coast savior to take over and be one of the greatest of all time. Since both Drake and Kendrick were almost on the same level of popularity, Drizzy wanted to take advantage of their new releases and feature him on Take Care. In Buried Alive interlude, the two joined forces to deliver something truly special for fans all over the world. The memorable collaboration is considered to be one of the better interludes from any album release in the 2010s. These two started getting closer on closer because, in February 2012, Drizzy brought Kenny out along with A$AP Rocky as the opening acts for his Club Paradise tour. Turns out, Drake did a lot of arguing and fighting to get these two artists as his openers.
Rap is an ever-changing cycle, and that the change within is inevitable. So you may have had like a favorite rapper for the last 10, 15 years, and they may only have 1 or 2 albums left, and that's okay. That's just how the goes. But I promise you, each and every one of you are responsible for the 4 individuals on this stage, and we will rep for y'all to the day they lay us flat on our motherfucking back. What's up?
This bit of information is revealed in his 2016 song 4 p.m. in Calabasas, where he raps, "When they told me to take an R&B N-word on the road, and I told them no and drew for Kendrick and Rocky." People thought that Drake was the person who gave Kendrick and Rocky the fame they have today. If that's the case, then the domino effect that led to the rap scene everyone has seen in 2024 is entirely his fault. Kendrick destroyed Drizzy's career, while Rocky is having kid after kid with the woman fans think is the love of Drake's life. Looking back, that performance stings extra hard on fans of OVO.
Like I said, this is my brother A$AP Rocky. This is my brother Kendrick Lamar. This is my brother Chasing Cash. We all ask you just one favor. Y'all keep working on being the beautiful people that you are, and we're gonna keep giving you this music that you love so much.
This wasn't the last time these 3 artists would collab, though. Kendrick, Drake, and A$AP were all making waves in the hip-hop scene and collaborated on a track from Rocky's album. Effin' Problems was an instant commercial success and peaked at number 26 on the Billboard Hot 100. But even though Effin' Problems was a massive hit, it would be the last time Drizzy and Kenny would work on a song together. K-Dot's next mission was to be the best and only the best, with no one holding him back. He released his major label debut album, Good Kid, M.A.A.D. City, on October 2012, which only proved his talent was unmatched. Songs like Money Trees, Expletive, Don't Kill My Vibe, and Swimming Pools were classics after classics. Fans were starting to think he just couldn't make a bad song and blessed any song he was featured in. The blessing came later in August 2013, when he hopped on the mic with Big Sean in Control. Kendrick's verse on this track changed the landscape of what hip-hop was forever. He took jabs at not only Drake, but at J. Cole, Meek Mill, Big K.R.I.T., Pusha T, A$AP Rocky, Tyler the Creator, Mac Miller, Whale, and even the people who worked on the song, Big Sean and Jay Electronica. His verse talked about wanting to bury the other rappers to the point where none of their core fans ever heard of them. In Kenny's words, they don't want to hear any more nouns or verbs from them. Kendrick shook fans, but shook rappers even harder. Drake was quick to respond and said, "I didn't really have anything to say about it. It just sounded like an ambitious thought to me. That's all it was. I know good and well that Kendrick's not me at all in any platform. So when that day presents itself, I guess we can revisit the topic." At the time, Drizzy was focusing on his own album, Nothing Was the Same, which was going to drop later that year. The project had features from A-listers like Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, and even 2 Chainz. Kendrick was out for blood, but Drake was trying his best not to give in to the beef. It was as if the rapper from Compton knew something and was about to blow up the internet at any point. Drizzy knew that staying silent would be best for business. But come October 2013, Kendrick was putting pressure on the OVO artist yet again. He attended the BET Hip Hop Awards with some other Top Dog Entertainment members to be part of the cypher. K-Dot took a couple of jabs at Drizzy over a Shook Ones beat and said that nothing had been the same ever since his verse on Control. Drake took 2 months to respond with The Language. He stood his ground and made it loud and clear that he wanted no beef with Kenny because he respected him as a lyrical genius. He also mentioned how he wouldn't give Kendrick a chance to shake him and that he sees no threat. It was very clear to the fans that these 2 artists who were once very good friends were slowly turning into each other's arch nemesis. What started out to be a harmless bar on a Big Sean track developed into a ticking time bomb that every fan anticipated with each passing day. Drake and Kendrick didn't follow the traditional rapper beef in the 2010s, with diss tracks specifically dedicated to each other. A good example of that could be seen between Eminem and Machine Gun Kelly. MGK dropped Rap Devil in 2018, which made Slim Shady release Kill Shot. These 2 are perfect examples of textbook diss tracks. Kendrick and Drizzy, on the other hand, were firing subtle shots at each other between 2015 and 2016. Kenny called Drake out on his ghostwriting on King Kunta. Meek Mill accused the Canadian rapper of using ghostwriters in 2015. This took all the spotlight and attention from Drake's beef with Kendrick and put it on the matter at hand. At the time, Meek was savoring the success of his 2015 album Dreams Worth More Than Money and was hungry for banter. His then-girlfriend Nicki Minaj was getting into heated arguments with Taylor Swift, so he decided to poke his finger at Drake. The Philly rapper exposed Drizzy for the fraud he is and how he doesn't write his own music. This was kind of a wild card because Drake was actually featured on a song called R.I.Co. on the album. Meek said that if he had this information beforehand, he'd never ask Drizzy to be on his project. He tweeted, "Stop comparing Drake to me too. He don't write his own raps. That's why he ain't tweet my album because we found out." Mill knew that other rappers like J. Cole and Kendrick had actual talent and knew how to rap unlike Drizzy here. He said that even though they're in their different lanes, Drake is way out of it. Turns out, he never wrote the verse on RICO to begin with. When he said the Dream Girl expletive on Rico, I thought he was coming at me LOL, then Young Bull played me the verse. The feud between Drake and Mill lasted a solid week on Twitter in July 2015, but it was more than enough material for Kenny to use on a subtle hit on King Kunta from To Pimp a Butterfly, an album that had nothing to do with rap beef or drama. The album being a global sensation and considered to be one of the best albums of all time wasn't enough for Kenny though. He hopped on Dr. Dre's album Compton, where he fired several more shots on Dark Side, Gone, and Deep Water. Things were quiet for a couple of years on both ends. It was as if the monster inside Kendrick was hibernating until somebody poked it with a stick. The person with the stick was none other than J. Cole in 2023 when he collaborated with Drake on First Person Shooter. The domino effect kept getting bigger and bigger, and the clock on the ticking time bomb was almost over. Things were about to get massive, and only one career was going to survive after this was settled. Now, J. Cole and Drake did nothing but compliment Kendrick in First Person Shooter. They said that the 3 of them are the big 3 in the rap game and have nothing but respect for Kenny. The single was very hard to ignore because it was Cole's first ever #1 hit in the Hot 100. If these 2 were rapping about being great artists and threw zero shade at Kendrick, what could possibly be his next move? On March 22nd, 2024, Future and Metro Boomin collaborated on a joint project called We Don't Trust You. Like every Boomin record, this was an insane commercial success with features from The Weeknd, Travis Scott, Playboi Carti, Rick Ross, and, of course, Kendrick Lamar. The 6th track on the album completely broke the internet. The opening few seconds alone showed Metro Boomin's flawless talent as a producer, with a catchy and upbeat sample that had everyone bumping their heads. Then came the bridge, where fans all over the world were shocked to find Kendrick as the addition to the track. Once people actually focused on the lyrics, they realized what he was actually talking about, and it wasn't pretty. Like that, had Kendrick firing shots at both Drake and Cole, with the most obvious bar referencing First Person Shooter. The part where Cole called them the Big 3 was truly what got to him, because Kenny had to make it loud and clear that it was just him on top, no one else. The lyricism on Kendrick's end was just out of this world. He would subtly reference stuff like Drake's For All the Dogs album with his Pet Sematary bar so effortlessly that you could only think what an actual diss track from him would sound like. Drake had just about enough because, at this point, it was a matter of saving his career. He couldn't let K-Dot run his mouth like that without any consequences. So a few days later on his It's All a Blur tour, he addressed "Like That" because fans were curious about what he had to say.
A lot of people ask me how I'm feeling. I'm gonna let you know how I'm feeling. Listen, the way I'm feeling is the same way I want you to walk out of here feeling about your self. Cause you know how I'm feeling? I got my head up high, my back straight, I'm 10 toes down in Florida or anywhere else I go, and I know that no matter what, it's not a on this earth that can ever on me in my life. And that's how I want you to walk out of here tonight. But in order to, get yourself all gassed up, riled up, and move towards the future, sometimes you gotta acknowledge the mistakes that you made in the past, right? Right? So this is what I want you to do. Everybody in here.
The interesting part here was the fact that Drake mentioned past mistakes that people should learn to forgive and move on from. Kendrick had never mentioned anything that Drizzy did years ago in Like That. Fans started to think that Drake was so scared of Kendrick that he was practically digging his own grave. The Compton rapper knew something about Drizzy, and it was only a matter of time until everything would slowly reveal itself. Drake was probably learning from past mistakes because back in 2018, Pusha T released The Story of Adidon. Now, Drizzy and Pusha were already beefing back in the day, and this diss track was a response to Duppy Freestyle, which Drake recorded before that. Long story short, Push revealed that Drake was hiding a secret son named Adonis. No one knew of his existence, and it was because of this diss track alone that Drizzy had to start posting about his son more often. But a speech at a concert wasn't enough to settle the score. After DJ Academics leaked the track, Drake finally released Push-Ups on streaming services on April 19th. He mocked K-Dot's height, foot size, and overall stature. He even made fun of his contract deal with Top Dawg Entertainment. Not many know this, but Kendrick's affiliation with TDE goes way back to the time before he was even born. Duckworth from Damn is a story about his father having Anthony Tiffet's back as a KFC employee and also as an affiliate of the Blood Disciples gang. So dissing Kendrick and Top Dawg Entertainment was like dissing his family. Speaking of family, Drake also trash-talked rappers like Rick Ross, Future, Metro Boomin, and even The Weeknd on Push-Ups. Basically, anyone who was on We Don't Trust You was a target in Drizzy's eyes. This was mistake number one on Drake's end. Whoever dissed Kendrick's family would most definitely feel his wrath because this would not go unnoticed. After all, there is a reason why the rap community calls him the boogeyman of hip-hop. And the following weeks would prove to the world just why he's called that. But before Kenny could plan his next move, Drake released his tailor-made freestyle on Instagram. This included Drizzy's second mistake when things started to get heated between him and K-Dot. For some reason, Drake used AI vocals so that he could have Tupac and Snoop Dogg rapping on the track. Why did he choose these two rappers in particular? Well, Kendrick listed these two in his top 5 list of best rappers of all time.
Give me J. I gotta write it so it can look right. This in any order too. Give me M. Give me Pac. Give me Big. Yeah, and give me Snoop. These are,
Fire.
Yep.
That's a fire 5.
These are the cats that inspire me like the most in doing music for sure. And if you break down how I approach lyrics, you can hear the influence each and every one of these dudes.
So, what better way to get back at the man making fun of you than by using his biggest inspiration's vocals on a diss track? Drake was also getting impatient because he still hadn't received a response to Push-Ups. So, he wanted to speed up the process. But this move came at a price because a member of Tupac's estate threatened to sue the Sixth God for using artificial intelligence when putting Pac's voice on tailor-made freestyle. Unless Drake removed the song from his social media accounts, he was going to have to deal with a pretty big lawsuit. Other than that, Push-Ups also had Drake making fun of Kendrick for collaborating with artists like Maroon 5 and Taylor Swift. Any rapper making a pop song ends up being made fun of for not being gangster enough and true to his lyrics. It was just very odd to see the person who wrote To Pimp a Butterfly hopping on a Taylor Swift song at the same time. DJ Academics was Drake's biggest supporter throughout this beef and knew for a fact that the Sixth God would win in the end. Push-Ups gave Drake a huge upper hand because of how lethal he was on the track.
I was right. I was right. Yo, I said all this shit blindly because I know my favorite artist. That Kendrick, I've heard that smoking on your top 5. That nigga was on crack when he said that shit.
A week later, the downfall of Drake and his influence on the music industry began. Kendrick dropped Euphoria, which was a 6-minute long diss giving everyone just a taste of how bloodthirsty he could be. In this diss track, K. Dot referenced YNW Melly, defended Pharrell Williams, mentioned Drake's beef with Pusha T, and even questioned Drizzy's ethnicity. Euphoria started and ended, with Kendrick threatening his enemy to keep quiet, otherwise he'll expose him for the fraud he truly is. Rick Ross found this very entertaining because he was settling his own score with Drizzy after dropping Champagne Moments.
White boy, BBL Drizzy, I got a question. I saw you posted you got more money than Ricky Rose. And let's assume you did. Well, your best friend, Birdman, his house went into foreclosure 5 years ago. You done watch that man struggle them 5 years and ain't get that man a mansion? Because if you got more money than Rose, what's another 50 million, white boy?
Kendrick then gave Drake a taste of his own medicine and dropped a second diss track titled 616 in LA, just a few days after fans were still trying to comprehend Euphoria. Drizzy was slowly getting exposed because, in this track, Kenny revealed that there was a mole in the OVO house who had been dishing out dirt on him. OVO, short for October's Very Own, is a record label that has been Drake's most prized achievement since 2012. Out of nowhere, Kendrick was saying that there was a mole in OVO headquarters, which put Drizzy's entire career on the line. 14 hours after 616 in LA, Drake dropped Family Matters and picked up where he left off in Push-Ups. Here came mistake number 3. Drake took a jab at Kendrick's allegedly messy relationship with his fiancée Whitney Alford. He accused Kenny of cheating on her, along with mistreatment in the household.
You're the black messiah with a mixed queen, and what you're really out there doing, which is using Kendrick's own words against him, where he's rapping about sleeping with white chicks. So he's the whole, this is a facade, you're fake, you're phony. That if this the angle you taking.
The visual of Family Matters shows the van from the album cover of Good Kid, M.A.A. City being picked up by a forklift and into a trash compactor. People weren't really digging the diss because they wanted to see what Kendrick had left in the tank. They expected his response to come a few days later, but it took a few minutes for Kenny to drop Meet the Grams. The haunting track addressed Drake's family from his mother to his Adonis, and even to a secret daughter that Kendrick thinks is hidden from the public. He exposes Drizzy for the monster that he is, and it almost makes him sound like he's worse than Diddy. The cover art of Meet the Grams was an expanded and zoomed out photo of the image used in 616 in LA. Turns out, it's a photo of Drake's personal belongings, including his prescription pills. In less than 24 hours, Kendrick dropped Not Like Us. This was a completely different track as compared to Meet the Grams, because this time, DJ Mustard produced the beat. As far as producers were concerned, The Alchemist talked about his experience when working on the diss track that crowned the winner of the battle between Drake and Kendrick.
I work with Dad all the time, so I'm always sending him beats. That was just a beat I had been sending him. I had no idea.
Not Like Us was a fun, ruthless, and brutal assassination of Drake, full of personal attacks, with artwork that shows a satellite view of Drizzy's mansion. It also showed a bunch of red pointers, hinting at a bunch of offenders living with Drake. The Sixth God was cornered by some of the biggest rappers in the industry. He gave it all he had when he dropped The Heart Part 6, where he addressed all the allegations in Not Like Us. Drake said that he was intentionally giving Kendrick fake information about his life so he could use it in his diss tracks. He never had a daughter, and said that the person who might be hiding a daughter was Whitney, with Dave Free, Kendrick's closest friend. Like Family Matters, this track wasn't well received by fans either. Kendrick won already, and at this point, Drake was only making his situation worse. Not Like Us was a cultural phenomenon and made it to the #1 spot on the Hot 100. He then celebrated the achievement at his pop-out concert, which featured many artists like Pusha T, Steve Lacy, Tyler the Creator, and many more rappers and gang members from the West Coast. The memorable night of June 19th united the West Coast and gang members from different sets in Los Angeles. It was the first time fans saw them crip walking on stage and dancing along to Kendrick's music. Music would be an understatement, because it was Not Like Us performed 5 times in a row. Fans and artists around the world appreciated Kenny for what he did for the rap community and for being a united force everyone was waiting for.
Sending a big shout out to K. Dot and all the homies from the West that stood together, unified, organized, in peace, love. That was beautiful. That was fun to watch. beautiful to see all of my peoples come together. And K-Dot, you are the king of the West. That's the kind of shit kings do. We unite.
But Kenny wasn't done just yet. He released a music video of the hit diss track early in July, directed by both himself and Dave Free. It had shots of K-Dot smashing the OVO Owl Pinata with a bat, and even had him and his family dancing together. Fans think Drake's career has been turned into dust. No one acknowledges The Heart Part 6 as a diss track because Lamar simply stole the spotlight and decided to keep it from the OVO house for good. Many rappers support Kendrick and already have their bones to pick with Drake. This beef was just their convenient excuse to use to cut ties with Drizzy for good. Recent photos show that the Canadian rapper actually looks defeated because of the wrinkles on his face. Another photo had fans assuming he was dissing Kendrick's pose for Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. The shirt he's wearing says, "Rap is a joke," which led to people believing he really did use the culture for fame and fortune. Regular rappers on Drake's albums like Travis Scott are seen playing Like That in his concerts. Recently, Lil Wayne played Not Like Us too. It's as if the entire music industry doesn't like Drizzy anymore, and for all the good reasons. Kendrick Lamar exposed him for all the controversial behavior he was trying to hide after all these years. If a legend like Snoop crowned him the king of the West Coast, it's pretty obvious who's going to be buried and forgotten about in a few years' time. If you enjoyed this video, click on the ones showing on your screen now to watch similar content.